everyone, my name is Carmen Miranda and I'm currently majoring in communication studies. The music video El Apagón by Bad Bunny was released back on May of 2022 and starts with a very energetic celebration of the Puerto Rican culture. However, it highlights the frustration over ongoing blackouts and government failures affecting students, hospitals, families, and the community overall. This connects to Global Goal 16, which focuses on the peace, justice, and strong institutions, but the video highlights government accountability and institutional failure. It specifically connects to Target 16.6, which focuses on developing effective and accountable institutions. So the blackouts and the rising electricity costs shows that the institution responsible for public utilities is not effectively serving the people. But it also connects to Target 16.7, which promotes inclusive decision making because Puerto Rican residents are protesting and demanding that their voices to be heard. The first concept is selective attention. So selective attention just means listening only to what you want to hear while ignoring the rest. So in other words, you choose where to focus your attention and ignore the other parts. And this is explained on page 161. Floyd also gives us an example of a job insurance adjuster. During her evaluation, her supervisor usually just gives her a positive feedback, but this time the supervisor also included areas for improvement. However, when Suan focuses only on the praise and ignores the constructive criticism, she misses the opportunity to improve. And this example is also from page 161. And this shows how selective attention can become a barrier to effective communication. And we see selective attention in El Apagón around 0.49 seconds to a minute and 18 seconds. So we see news headline shows that Luma Energy took control of Puerto Rico electricity system, and even though they were not meeting service standards. So the video shows the rise on electricity bill and blackout, while company owners are earning about $1.1 million in salary. And this shows selective attention because the institution focuses on the financial profit instead of listening to the concern of the Puerto Rican community. And this brings us to the second term, information overload. So information overload is a listening barrier that happens when we feel overwhelmed by too much information at once. So it makes it very difficult to focus and process everything clearly. And this is from page 161. Floyd also gives the example on between page 161 to 162 that the average US American is exposed to about 4,000 advertisements on a daily basis. So with so many messages competing for our attention, it's just so much easier to miss important information because our attention is just divided, which can prevent effective listening. So the section from El Apagón from 0.35 seconds to a minute and 22 illustrates information overload through rapid shifts between various news reports and footages and statistics. So the quick transition from explosion to hospital to footage creates overwhelming media experience, making it very challenging to process information and focus on the solution. So the third term is closed-mindedness. So closed-mindedness is when someone is unwilling to listen to the idea or opinion they disagree with. So in other words, it means refusing to consider another person's point of view just because it conflicts with your own beliefs or values. And this is explained on page 164. So when we refuse to listen just because we disagree, we limit our ability to learn. And Floyd gives us an example of an educator who generally is open to different opinions. However, when it came to her own religion belief, she becomes very closed off and refuses to engage in discussion, which made other colleagues very frustrated because it makes an open conversation more difficult. And like I mentioned, it prevents learning from other people's experiences and it creates barriers to effective communication as described on page 164. And clearly we see closed-mindedness on the video at 3 minutes and 40 seconds to 4 minutes and 6 seconds when Bad Bunny says, "No me quiero ir de aquí, que se vayan ellos," which translates to, "I don't want to leave from here, they should leave." And he's referring to the private investors and the outsider rather than the people that were born and raised in Puerto Rico. So during this part of the video, we see protesting happenings and shows how institutions and investors are just ignoring the concerns of the local community affected by their own decisions. So this reflects closed mindedness because instead of engaging with residents and considering their perspective, decisions are being made without including them. And this connects back to Global Goal 16 and the importance of strong and accountable institutions that protects the people's right and respond to their need. So this activity highlights how selective attention, information overload, and closed-mindedness hinders effective listening and meaningful communication. Selective attention leaves people feeling unheard, information overload disrupts focus, and closed-mindedness obstructs learning. And I aim to be more open-minded as listening to different ideas can enhance my communication skills without necessarily accepting them. Thank you.